I have to either blame or thank my parents for this, but when I was in high school, rather than play sports every quarter or whatever it was, they made me go to the Evelyn Wood speed reading school. And they taught me, and I had to sign a document saying I'd never tell the secret of what I was doing. I was like 16 years old or something. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's fine with me. Um, and it taught me, how to exercise your eye and how to soft focus and not read every word. And it was probably the best thing that could have happened because in my later life, reading 30 scripts a week, sometimes more, learning to read that quickly and enabled me to read more books and become sort of fascinated with the world around me. But when I graduated high school, I was trying to think what I wanted to do. And in my New York Jewish world, you had basically two jobs. You were either a psychologist or a doctor, and nobody really wanted to hear anything else. And I took a psychology class and found out that I wasn't really that interested in people. And then I took a couple of other classes and they didn't work out. And then I thought about being a doctor, but I faint at the sight of blood. So I said, what do I like to do? And, I like to read. So I became an English major. And it's the best decision I ever made by far in my life um, because it enabled me to basically be involved with the written word at every level of anything I was doing, which, started with poems and things I do in school. But when I, got into the film business, it was reading scripts and I had a natural affinity for story. But that was based on so many years reading books at Bucknell University and talking about story and ideas. And in a way, people think that you need to go to a special school to understand story and find great scripts. And in a way, it's kind of natural. You kind of either have it or not. There are a lot of guys from the Harvard Business School who take executive jobs in Hollywood and they don't have the kind of creative background to make the right decisions, and they make decisions based on algorithms and marketing and all the wrong things. In my life, if I liked something, I said, let's buy it. I didn't even talk to a lot of people, which is either, a great idea if you're good at it and a terrible idea if you're bad at it. So it seemed to work out for me. I wouldn't recommend it for everybody. And nobody now does that. I mean, the 70s was a time when you had actually people running studios who could say yes because, they felt this was a good idea. Now it's a huge conglomerates that are all merging together. So the idea that one person will just love something and buy it is very unusual. But most of my career in film was that just finding something I loved and working on it. I'm not a writer, but I'm an editor. And to me, there are two different skill sets. And I actually teach screenwriting and adaptation because that's two different skill sets. You know, there are people who make a great living adapting from another medium, and there are people who make a great living writing original ideas, but they're two very much different things. So, I have and always will love the written word.